Life is hard, and we're out here doing larger-than-life things, whether it's pushing ourselves physically in the outdoors or mentally at work or in the podcast studio. Absolute Aid is here to help you focus, recover, and stay calm during your most intense moments. Absolute Aid, created by nature, made with science, for those who seek to do more. All right, everybody, welcome to an Aptitude Outdoors new, shorter series where James and I discuss topics in the outdoors that we're very passionate about. And, you know, as you all probably know by now, if you listen to the podcast, James is the host of the 46 of 46 podcast, and we've become super good friends over the last few years. And, you know, we'll keep it brief. This podcast, this mini podcast, is about our mutual passion for fitness in the outdoors and not being a sissy. So James, welcome to this new show. And, you know, I want to get your backstory, your first impression. You know, why is this important to you? Why is fitness in the outdoors such a big thing in your life?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paul. And it's a big thing because have you ever hiked a mountain and been just so deathly out of shape, and then your body just stopped working when you're miles and miles deep? It's terrible. It's a terrible feeling. So for me, I like climbing mountains. It's where I live. That's what you do. So, you know, hiking and, you know, climbing up these mountains, it's a lot more fun when you're in physical shape. You're in good physical shape and you have the cardiovascular capacity to do it. And then you can just enjoy the mountains as opposed to it being such only thinking about the physical element because you're, you know, huffing and puffing. I mean, obviously that happens too, but you don't ever have to wonder, will I make it up or will I make it down? That's not a thought. It's just, yeah, it's hard. So with that, you know, I like to do that for fun. So you got to stay in shape. And ultimately too, you know, we should all be taking health into consideration with everything we do right now. And, you know, that's a good foundation to live your life in.
So why did you make this decision? Because it's always a decision, like unless you're grown up with physical fitness in your life, which I'm assuming most people are not. I was not, where did that switch flip for you, and what made you make this conscious decision to live this path?
Sure. So yeah, we all grow up. Obviously, we know you need to be in good physical fitness, good shape, healthy. We know that. Nobody needs to be told that. Mm-hmm. So it's up to us to make the decision to live by that. And, we all have our differences, and, you know, certain people, it comes easier to them than it does to other people, and that's totally fine. But the common denominator is everybody can make the choice to pursue physical fitness and stop being a little bitch and complaining and blaming this and blaming that and blaming everything else. It really does come down to you make the choice and then you go after it. And from there, for myself, the choice started, I weighed, I was just under 3 bills, had a conversation with my wife and in bed one night, and my wife's question literally was like, so what's your end game? What's the deal here? And it was like, okay, got it. Message received. So my kind of like fitness journey, this would have been like 7 or 8 years ago. My fitness journey began right there. I texted the guitar player of my band, who's also a personal trainer, and I said, all right, dog, I need your help. Let's go. And because I travel for work, the first maybe 3 or 4 months was literally what I called hotel workouts, all just like body weight workouts, mm-hmm. Get you sweating, get you moving, get you doing stuff. And again, I've lifted weights since, college, so like off and on. So, I've been into the sport of powerlifting for a long time, but at that point it was just like, there was no physical fitness of any kind involved in my lifestyle. So I just started doing that, and then from there, 3 months, 4 months of doing that, it just kind of progressed and progressed and progressed. And then I was in the weight room. Then I bought a squat rack and bought a whole bunch of weights that I have to this day in my garage, and, started training at home. And, it just consistency is key. And then suddenly, you want to be there. And that's when the switch flips. And I always tell people, it doesn't make a difference what you're doing, as far as maybe you like powerlifting, or maybe you like running, or maybe you like playing tennis or pickup basketball. Just do freaking something and do it consistently.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, and it's so funny. Every time we talk, I'm just like, damn it. Why we're like the same exact person. I have like literally very similar story. You know, I was back in high school, man. I was literally 300 pounds. I woke up one day. I was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? And like, I had a few deaths in the family, and you're just like, what am I doing with my life? I'm just sitting here like being a fat, lazy slob. And I woke up one day and the switch just flipped. I don't know what happened. But from junior year to senior year, I lost 100 pounds. And like, that was literally just from like basic exercises. And then, you know, as you grow up, you fluctuate, you lose weight, you gain weight, you get jobs, you get lazy, college. But then, you know, decided to do the AT. And I think after the Appalachian Trail was when I really decided like this needs to be a lifelong path. Like, you can't just decide to be fit occasionally, because I went and did like 100-some mile paddle that, you know, I've talked about before on the podcast, and like I wasn't in shape for it. I beat myself up. It hurt. And then, you know, ever since then, it's been like a full-on journey, like 5-6 days a week of consistent, hard, brutal workouts that I mean, like, now I feel like shit if I don't do it. And especially both of us have gotten pretty hardcore into hunting. That's a sport that requires a lot of physicality. That's, you know, and climbing mountains or running or whatever. All this outdoor stuff we do requires a ton of physicality. And, you know, it brings to the main point of what I'm trying to get across here with this whole new series is like, you know, everything I have is like a historical perspective of humanity. So like our ancestors, that's just life. Like 100, 200 years ago, you had to be in shape or you were dead. And we're just like becoming so pathetically soft and weak. Yes, you hit the nail on the head with that. And like, I don't know where this mindset I see, not only in the outdoors industry, but pretty much across the board, of like, just sit back and just let life happen and be comfortable. Like, that's absolute bullshit in my brain. I don't know if I'm just a psychopath, or, you know, what do you think about that? I kind of already know, but
well, I mean, I pretty much kind of think similar things to you. It's just like this idea that, you know, you're all delicate flowers and you've not done anything wrong and you're all okay. It's just horseshit. You know, it's like, if you think about it from just a pure health perspective, heart complications, heart disease, any of that, it doesn't give a crap about any of that stuff. It's going to either hit you or it's not. So that should let a light bulb go off that, even though that society is telling me one thing, they're actually doing you a complete disservice, because it doesn't matter. Your body doesn't care about all that bullshit. So you got to make the decision, and you got to, grab yourself by the bootstraps and pull yourself up, because no one is going to do it for you. And, again, that's just like a nice analogy of life, because it's like, you can do it once you make the decision, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Dude, I have squatted in my shed when it was negative 18 degrees. It was so cold, my damn heaters won't turn on. But it was like, it was Wednesday. I had to get it in. So I went out, I got it in. I friggin' wore the layers, and I've lifted in 0 degrees in my shed so many times, and it sucks wearing thermals and 2 pairs of sweatshirts and 2 pairs of sweatpants. But like, what the hell? I got to get it in. Do I want to do this? Do I want to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish? Yes. So you go do it. And sure. Society's like, no, it's cold. Take the day off. No, I don't get down with that. And if you do, then fine. That's fine. But I'm willing to bet you're also probably not going to be that successful in accomplishing the goals you're looking for, no matter what it is, outside of the outdoors and outside of fitness. It's just it's a mindset. There's a guy that I really love. He's actually from Ohio, where you live. Jim Wendler. He's a old school power lifter. He has a whole kind of brand and whatever called 531, and he always says that effort requires no skill, and that's really like,
hell yeah.
That's it. effort requires no skill. Showing up on time requires no skill. These are things that anybody can do. You just have to make the choice to do it. And I guess I'm just like I'm not with a lot of the kind of the messages that society is outputting these days to people. I think ultimately it is actually doing them a disservice to the people who are, eating this shit up personally. But pardon my French, but that's how I feel.
That my brain works exactly the same way, man. Like, I do not want to lay on the floor feeling like I'm going to vomit 5 days a week from pushing myself to the absolute limit of my like capability. Like, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'1", at where I'm at now is 240 pounds. Like, and that's a lot of weight to carry around. And I just go hard, and I know that I will feel better doing that than not doing it. And like, literally, there's days I got like 4 hours of sleep last night. I just couldn't sleep. After we get done with this, I am going to the gym. I'm going to beat myself up, actually twice today, just because. And, I live by that motto of, on the days that you don't want to do it, that's when you have to do it the most. And to branch more into the outdoors side of things, I will literally go outside and take like a 3 to 5 mile hike when it is -5 and the snow is blowing in my face, and I am the only person at the park, just to like bust down that mental barrier of like not being a sissy. That's literally that's how my mind operates. And I don't know where we lost this. I guess it's easy to be comfortable now, and that's the root of everything I do, is like, whether it's backpacking, hiking, hunting, whatever, it's like, where did we lose this toughness that has like been instilled like in our ancestors for thousands of years? Like, this is how we were meant to be as a species, and now I don't know what we're doing. It's kind of weird. So, I know it'll probably piss a lot of people off, but like, that's life. Life's become a lot easier, and that's fine. And I guess for me, I just feel like when it comes to like your health and all that stuff is like the bottom line. That's the foundation. That's everything, revolves around that. So if that's gone, everything is gone. And when you make, you decide to get out there and start training, or you commit to doing something, whatever it is, and you commit to it, and it becomes like a part of you where you can't not be doing it, you'll notice that just translates and like moves into other elements of life. It moves into how you treat people, how you run your business. You decide to tackle this hobby, or you decide to tackle that hobby, and you hit it just like, you just go for it. And I know for me, at least, all of that kind of like life-changing elements really came from, putting the barbell on my back and, making that just a huge element of my life. And it's I always tell people it's not about the physical part of it. And although that is enjoyable now, it is all, for me, the mental part of strengthening that mind. And it's always getting softer. The brain always wants to get back to this soft state. And it's like, just like chisel and hammer to the stone, man, every freaking day. Like, it's the grind that everybody talks about. But, let's go over quickly here. I've kind of like come up with a few like little basic reasonings as to why this is important for outdoors people specifically. Firstly, fitness and the outdoors go hand in hand. Any outdoor activity, I don't care if it's fishing, because in the outdoors, there's tons of variability in what you're going to encounter every day, whether the weather changes, whether, the terrain changes, whatever. So how do you personally think that fitness, like any sort of physical training, prepares you for that variability?
You don't have to be stressed about anything if you know that you're physically ready for anything. It's like I was saying about hiking, I couldn't tell you the last time I've gone hiking and just wondered like, oh, I wonder if I'll be able to make it. There's not even a thought. Like, I'll be just fine in that element. It's more of a mental thing at that point, and it's where it's easier to be, get down on and be like, oh, this sucks. But the physical element is not going to be a problem. And obviously you get tired, but that's not a big deal. You can keep pushing forward, and that's where they both come into play. But when you're in the outdoors, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to going to occur in terms of weather and this and that. But really, in my opinion, the physical fitness element in the outdoors, it's like it takes you to places that, most people can't go to and most people won't go to. So to me, that's the huge element that it's like, man, most people will never experience this except for in a picture. And I like that personally. I like knowing that my body will take me there. It will take me back. And, I'll have a couple pictures. I don't really tend to take nearly as many pictures as I wish I did by the time I get back. I'm usually like, this is cool. Snap one picture and then that's it. And it's like, I only took one picture of this whole 20-mile day. But I feel like that's the biggest part is your feet, your physical fitness can take you to places that other people who aren't making that a priority or even not on their radar aren't going to be able to get to. And I like having that. So if that, I like having that kind of opportunity, I should say.
Exactly. And then, another aspect that's really important to me that I think the physical part of training outside of just physical or outdoor activities is it really causes you to be able to make decisions and think calmly under stress and stuff, which you run into in the outdoors, especially if you're doing any backcountry sort of things. It can get stressful out there. I mean, things happen, and I think putting yourself in that uncomfortable mindset every day really gets you to feel more calm in those situations. Like for instance, on the Appalachian Trail, I rolled my ankle super hard. Like it's still messed up to this day. Like the balance I have on one ankle compared to the other is just complete shit. And that injury, I could have easily been like, I'm done. I can't do this through hike anymore. But instead I wrapped it up and I finished the trail. Like that's, I know you have a similar scenario with you have like an ongoing kind of knee thing that's just flares up at random. So, where does your mind go to when you get into those situations? Because you can't just be like, hey mom, I'm on the, a peak 4,000 feet in the Adirondacks, 13 miles in. Can you come get me? Like that's not an option.
Yeah. Well, turns out that is an option because I think it was last weekend. We had some people up on Mount Marcy, which is the tallest peak in New York State, over 5,000 feet elevation. And they were in sneakers, and it's winter here. Literally, they were on the summit, and they tried calling the DEC to come pick them up. Just absurd. But yes, so people do attempt to do that. But anyways, yeah, dude, when you're out there and you're, like I have this knee thing and I don't know when it comes and when it goes, and I still have yet to be able to figure out what's going on, but it is take your breath away pain when it happens. And then like the very next day, I'm good. I experienced 2 different occasions, the worst knee pain the worst pain period of my entire life. And both times I was miles and miles and miles back. And then each time though, 2 days later, I was squatting in the gym, no problem. So it's very bizarre. But when you're back there, it's all, again, another like analogy of life. You're 2 miles back, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles back on top of a mountain and you have this injury. Well, guess what? How are you going to get out? You just got to get up and walk out. That's the only way out. You're not going to call someone to come pick you up. You have to get up. You have to get yourself out of the woods. And again, talk about an analogy of life. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to help you. You got to be able to help yourself. You got to be able to get out. And that's why like being prepared in the outdoors is important from, a gear standpoint, but also from a physical fitness standpoint. I knew I could make it out. I've, dealt with plenty of painful scenarios in my life. So it's like I was ready to get out. And the times you're talking about, one time I was on top of one of the high peaks, and it was 6 miles out. Brutal, just brutal and slow, but you got to get out. So, I feel like that builds character and it builds a mental stamina that other things don't typically do.
Yeah. And then, I think also making sure you start with these goals of, fitness. It doesn't have to be immediately 5 or 6 days a week of just grinding it out. Like everybody talks about, like when I started doing this stuff, I was maybe going to the gym once or twice a week because I was just in so much like physical pain from like working muscles I've never worked before. And I think a lot of people, they lose their stamina at the early stage because it is daunting. But like, what am I 5-6 years into doing this like every day basically, and I just things are sore and things hurt, but it's not anywhere near that like introductory month of just
Sure.
It's basically like the hell week or hell month, whatever you want to call it. It's rough. And I think, keeping that consistency, building that consistency is very important. Like starting with 1 day a week, then moving to 2 days a week, starting with a half mile, then going to 2 miles, then going to 5 miles, and so on and so forth. Like creating these new mental limits for yourself is important, and then breaking through those is important, because the same thing is going to happen in the outdoors. You're going to want to be a 46er. You're going to want to be a thru hiker. Okay, well, you don't 46 hike all the mountains in one afternoon. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes planning. So, consistency is very important. So how does that factor into you? Because you're in the mountains daily at this point in your life, it seems like.
Consistency to me is the most important part. If you can only commit to doing 2 days a week, but you can do 2 days a week for the next year, well, that's better than doing 5 days a week for the next 2 months. It's like, that's how you're going to actually see some results and see some change, both physically and mentally. Now, I work in the film industry, and we work really long days, 12, 13, 14-hour days, 5 days a week. It's a real grind. But I still get my lifts in. I still get my 3 to 4 sessions in a week in the gym. And I get people all the time constantly asking me at work, like, "What, you went to the gym this morning?" Or "You went to the gym last night? We finished at midnight." It's like, yeah, because I had to get it in. It sucks that we finished at midnight, but I had to get it in. I wish that we finished earlier, but we didn't. And I get people always asking me about training, and it's like, I don't want to go do it at those hours, but it's like, I'd rather go do it and then not go do it. So I do, and I've had a lot of people ask me about, I've made so many little quick training programs for people over the years at work, and I always make it 3 days a week, and this is what I tell them, because there needs to be a realistic element, there needs to be a mental element, and a physical element that will make this work. I say 3 days a week. What days don't you work a week? Saturday and Sunday. Great. You're going to train both days. And then I say, and then you force yourself 1 day a week, only 1 day. Like I can do it 3-4 times a week at work, because I'm just used to it. But like the mental element is 1 day a week. Yeah, we work these long hours, and we don't know when you're going to go to the gym, but one of the 5 days, there's time. We might start later that day. You can go in the morning. We might end at 6, 7 o'clock at night. Okay, you can go that night. So 1 day during the work week, I force them to get out and go do it. And that's the only way to do it. You have to be realistic about what you can do, but you also have to push yourself a little bit at the start. But by no means should you ever just jump into 5 days a week, 6 days a week, because you're just going to stop. And therefore, that's pointless. Consistency, whether it's a diet or it's a training session or a training program, consistency is key. Start small, and you can only go up from there. That's how I feel about it anyways. And I found that to be the way to go.
Yeah, and I when I was in college and I was working full time and I was training for the Appalachian Trail, there were days where I'd get like 3 hours of sleep, but I would come home and I'd do an hour, 2 hours on the treadmill or the stair stepper, or I'd walk up and down the stairs at like 1 a.m. after getting off like a 10-hour shift at work at a concrete factory. Or if I was at the concrete factory and if I was doing some crazy all-night shift or something, I would literally throw my backpack in my car and I'd put like 50 pounds in it. And there was a 100-foot ramp that went to the top of the building to like jump stone and like stuff into the concrete plant. I would walk up and down that thing for hours when there's nothing going on. And like, that's what it takes sometimes. I mean, you gotta get it in, and like,
you gotta get it in. That's the key. You gotta get it in. Get the work in.
Definitely could have gotten fired for that, but it was totally worth the risk in my opinion. But yeah, man. And the final kind of aspect that I really wanted to touch on here, as with all, Aptitude Outdoors, is everything that I've focused my life on for the last 5 to 6 years has been around conservation. I think that's super important. And, I think the only way to really work in conservation at a day-to-day level for a lot of people is focusing on what you eat. And, you know, this is like a touchy topic for a lot of people, which whatever. It's like hunting and fishing and providing your own source of nutrients is a form of physical fitness in and of itself. Like, that shit's hard, man. Like, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. You get these influencers out there that are like shooting, you know, huge bucks every day of the week. Like, that shit is very difficult and very physically demanding, whether it's just sitting in the cold for 8 hours or something, or stalking through the woods for, you know, your recent hunting season, 10, 15 hours at a time, whatever you're doing out there, just wandering around. I think it's really important to like think about that, even if you can't make that a reality right now. Like, providing your own food for yourself is a really important issue to me. It's been for a long time, and I try and live that life, and diet is obviously very important to fitness as well, but like, it's not all just eating broccoli and chicken all the time. It's taking a sustainable conservation aspect to it, because that's what the outdoors is to me, is conservation. So I don't know, does your mind go there? I don't think we've talked about this too much, like, honestly, so I'd be interested to see what you think on that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously conservation's an important thing, because like, if the outdoors, if it's not there, then it's no one can use it. But you know, everything's always under attack from people who don't get it. You know, it's like the hunting world is always under attack from people who have no idea what they're talking about. And you know, the amount of money that goes into conservation from hunting in particular, since that's what you were talking about, you know, that's where our hunting licenses go. That goes right back into the land. Like, it generates just like millions and millions and millions of dollars for the outdoors. And you know, what does the hiking community garner for the outdoors? Jack shit. There's nothing that the hiking community is really doing that, you know, generates that sort of money and revenue that goes right back into the land and right back into, you know, wildlife and all this stuff. And to the actual professionals who, and I say that because I'm a big hiker, but the actual professionals who know what they're talking about when it comes to, you know, wildlife management and land management and all of this stuff. You know, obviously people can talk all they want about, you know, why do you need to hunt this or hunt that or do this or do that? It's like, well, the populations actually need it. And people don't seem to understand that element of it. You know, how do animals die in the wild? They either get eaten by a predator, they die from cold, they die from starvation or disease. So it's just like, that's how they're going to die. So, you know, those are all pretty brutal deaths. Now, why do they die from starvation? Because the land can't manage the amount of population of animals on that land, because it does get out of control. And no matter what anyone wants to say, man has always been part of the equation with when it comes to animals. Now, the people who make the laws about hunting, these are the people who actually know those numbers, and they're the ones studying it. That's what they do. So I guess I never understand why, you know, people hate on hunting and all this stuff because of that. But when it comes to conservation and hunting, I think that's the biggest money generator that comes into, and then that goes right back into the land. And I don't see other, you know, avenues of the outdoors that do nearly as much for conservation as the hunting world. And that's why I joke about hiking. I'm so involved in the hiking community, and that's why I make fun of it in that regard, because I don't know what we're doing. I mean, from a hiking standpoint, I don't know what anyone's doing. Yeah, there's obviously organizations that exist that do very good work, and they do this and they do that, but overall, I would say conservation lacks pretty tremendously in pretty much every other kind of every other category in terms of outdoor recreation.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because I just texted you the other day, like, how I came from the hiking and backpacking community. That's where I got my roots in all of this. It's like I still love it. I still go out, I still backpack, I still hike. Like, that's just part of who I am. But like at the same time, yes, from the conservation ethic, I was telling you the other day, it's like, it's become a fashion show of who can have the sweetest, lightest, most expensive backpack and coolest, most flamboyant backpacking clothes. Like, what are you doing besides shoveling money into like Patagonia and, well, they actually do conservation, but like Columbia or all these big brands pockets and REI? Like, what are you doing besides just spending money? Like, I don't see how that equates to making the outdoors better for the general world. And like, you know, we could go on all day about that, but I mean, the main point here was to focus on why fitness is so important in the outdoors. And I think we've hit all of the major points that, you know, I take into account in the outdoors. And, you know, I think that people can get a lot from taking that into account, whether it's hiking or backpacking or hunting or whatever. I think that it's a very important thing, and I'm seeing a resurgence of this in a lot of people. I know with Absolute Aid, you guys have been, you know, working with like Elk Shape and Cameron Haynes, and which is wild, like these big, huge names. These are people that I look up to because I agree with what they're doing. I think they're important, like flag carriers for the population of people because they don't give a shit. They don't want to hear your excuse. Just go. I love that mindset. That's why
I gravitate towards that mindset, and I gravitate towards people who also have that mindset because that's the bottom line facts. It's true. Just you're either going to do it or you're not. I don't care about your excuses. You can make it done. You can get it done. You can do what you're trying to do. Whatever your goal is. You know, you can come up with an excuse until you're blue in the face, but do you want to get it done or do you not? And that's kind of why I gravitate towards those types of people. And going again with fitness in the outdoors, it's important because it makes the outdoor experience so much better. There's a simple reason. It makes it so much better and more enjoyable when you're able to be out there.
Yep. 1 hour a day makes that 2 weeks in the backcountry a hell of a lot better.
Sure. I mean, you don't even, and I always tell people at work too, it's, you know, they're like, oh, how do you have time to go train after we get out of these, you know, we worked 14 hours yesterday or whatever. It's like, you know how much you can sweat and how much of a workout you can get by literally jumping up and down for 5 minutes straight, just standing right where you're standing. Jump up and down for the next 60 seconds and let's watch how heavy you're breathing. Like, it does not take much. You don't need to be in the gym for an hour a day, or hour and a half, 2 hours a day if you don't have the time for that. If you got 5 minutes, well, guess what? You can do a lot in 5 minutes. Just do 5 minutes straight of burpees without stopping. You'll be sore. You'll be tired. You'll have burned some calories. And more than anything, mentally, you'll be a lot stronger and you'll feel a lot better too. And that mental high is nothing not to be ignored either, because that's a huge element of, you know, getting over the hump of like, I have to do this now, because that mental high is the real deal.
It's so funny you say that, because I was just going to say 5 minutes of burpees will ruin your day. Like that's a hell of a workout right there, man.
It's just like a simple thing. You don't even need to do burpee. You can't do a push-up or whatever. Literally just like stand there, jump, land, jump, land. Jump,
never
land. Do that for 5 minutes and watch how heavy. Even if I did it right now, I'm going to be breathing heavy too.
It's funny. I highly underestimated the punishing aspect of body weight exercises for a very long time. And like, go anywhere and do 100 push-ups and 100 air squats and run a mile and do like 50 pull-ups, and you will literally be having the greatest workout of your life in 40 minutes, you know? So I think that's a good place to end though. And thank you, James, for, coming and doing this again. It's always a good time to chat with you. And
sure,
who knows what our next topic will be, but I'm very excited for it.
All right. Cool. Thanks for having me, Paul.